to be able to just make a choice on your own and just be able to speak for yourself.
This one's wife. Yet more BS. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. I've explained to you before that Netflix has little interest in promoting her new show, With Love, Meghan, and instead it's fallen to this one's wife to undertake the promotional work, which has consisted of a couple of videos and sneak peeks on her Instagram channel. Naturally, plenty of people have spoken about it, so that she would suggest that it doesn't really need any promotion. Lots of people know about it, but the promotional activity, of course, is generated by people ridiculing the show rather than making it seem tantalizing and inviting. Instead, the situation is that for this one's wife, she has sought to undertake some more promotional work in relation to the show and just generally herself, as is her wont, by having an interview with People. People is one of the supine publications, so we know before we've even read a word that it's not going to be a taxing interview, that it's not going to ask the questions that really need to be asked, and instead it is likely to be a soft soap exercise of trying to make her look like she's a kind and inviting person, undoubtedly portraying herself as a mum, as a family individual, the idyllic lifestyle with her husband that she loves, in order to try and persuade the general public that she isn't a hateful bully. It isn't going to work. That ship of opportunity sailed a long time ago. You might then ask, why does she persist in trying? She persists in trying because at the heart of her beats her narcissism, which never ever learns from what has taken place. It will never ever cause her to give up the ghost and think, actually, you know what? They really all do dislike me. I'm just going to be quiet now. Driven by delusion and magical thinking, she believes that people should love her, ought to love her, because she believes that she's eminently lovable. Trapped within her narcissistic bubble, she fails to understand that people will not change their position no matter how many times she tries to tell them she is as a mom, as a wife, etc. In fact, she fails to understand that the more that she tells you what she claims she is, the more people will not believe it, the more entrenched they'll become. But she doesn't get it, because her narcissism doesn't allow her to get it. But let's have a look at this interview and see what it tells us about her vis-a-vis her narcissism. The article was published by Erin Hill, who comments as follows. This one's wife is curled up in bed with her sleeping 5-year-old son, Prince Archie, on a recent winter evening in Montecito, California. With her phone in hand, she catches up on emails, finalising details for the launch of her renamed lifestyle brand, As Ever, and her new Netflix series, With Love, Meghan. Accordingly, what do we get from the off? The presentation of this image of her being hardworking, when we know she's lazy, that she's this kind and considerate mum who often leaves her children behind, and a quick plug for As Ever and With Love, Meghan. Her husband, Prince Harry, 40, is still in Vancouver, wrapping up the Invictus Games. This one's wife had joined him for several days, during which she stayed in close touch with her mother Doria, checking in on Archie and Princess Lilibet, 3, who had gotten sick, and making sure they were seen by the doctor and sipping bone broth. Pausing there. It may well be true that the children became ill, and therefore she needs to make mention of the fact that she was checking in to ensure that they were okay and that they had been seen by the doctor and that they were having bone broth because, hey, she cares. This is simply cognitive empathy. You might think that if the children were so unwell that, as a mom, she would return to them, or if they'd fallen ill before she departed, that she hadn't actually gone away. But her needs to be seen by the world at Whistler and Vancouver were more important than going back to or staying with her children. She didn't need to be there. It was Harry's gig. This wasn't some important business venture that she was involved in. She was there as the wife of the main patron. And nobody would have cared if she had not turned up. If she'd have stayed at home looking after her children or returned to see the children, nobody would have batted an eyelid because they weren't interested in her. But this demonstrates her absence of emotional empathy for her children, that she deemed it appropriate to go away whilst they were ill, if that was the case, or to stay away whilst they were ill. The alternative, of course, is that it never happened, and, as is often the wont of the narcissist, that it is an invented event that her narcissism has caused her to do for the purpose of eliciting sympathy and to manage a facade. Now she's savouring this stillness at home with Archie as he stirs awake, sleepily telling her, "Mama, don't work too hard." Bullshit. No 5-year-old is going around to say, "Mama, don't work too hard." He's more likely to say, "I need a drink," or "Where's Papa?" Recalling the moment to people a few days later. Triangulation, facade management. The Duchess of Sussex says, "It was the sweetest thing." Like any entrepreneur, which of course one would use the word when it comes to her in its most elastic sense, this one's wife has tackled the hard work of launching a new business. Instructing some lawyers to do some trademark stuff, creating a video whilst looking like you're weeing in the garden. Yeah, really hard work. But unlike most, she has done so under an intense spotlight, yes, of her own making. In March 2024, her initial brand name, American Riviera Orchard, debuted online. 1 month later, jars of jam with the brand's logo began circulating among pals like Chrissy Teigen and Mindy Kaling. Then came a pause. In other words, nothing was actually ever going to happen with this because she's lazy and didn't know what to do, but the history is revised to suggest it was a pause. As anticipation grew, questions arose about when the products would become available, while behind the scenes she navigated trademark issues. There are tons of twists and turns, even with the name, she says in her most intimate interview in years. "I was figuring it out in real time." If you were a decent entrepreneur, you would have thought to yourself, before I tell the world about this business venture, I'm going to get my ducks in a row. But you didn't. Which either points to the fact that you're stupid, or that you were desperate to overshadow Prince William by announcing ARO. Either way, you don't come out of it looking good. And although she has faced intense public scrutiny at every step, this one's wife says the experience has been defined by growth. Yawn. "I appreciate everyone who gave me the grace to make mistakes and figure it out, and also to be forgiving with myself through that. It's a learning curve," she says. Once again, we get treated to the typical dross that this middle mid-ranger speaks. As this one's wife builds her brand, she also continues to expand her life in Montecito. 5 years have passed since she and Harry made the seismic decision to step back from their royal roles in the UK and chart their own path, but their titles remain. This one's wife says the Sussex name, bestowed upon her and Harry by Queen Elizabeth on their 2018 wedding day, holds a deeper significance than she could have imagined before motherhood. Oh, fuck off. You don't give a shit about what the Sussex name means, other than it's a title which you can use to lord it over people. You don't understand anything about Sussex, you don't understand the import of the title, you just wield it like the narcissist you are in order to make people kowtow to you, and you show your utter hypocrisy by continuing to use the title left, right and centre, which was bestowed upon you by a family that you claim were racist towards you. She continues by stating, "It is our shared name as a family, and I guess I hadn't recognised how meaningful that would be to me until we had children," she says. "I love that it is something that Archie, Lily, H and I have all together. It means a lot to me. What, rather than your shared surname of Mountbatten Windsor? Ah, but you won't use that, will you, because it's not got a title associated with it." The Sussex name, she adds, is part of our love story. Oh, excuse me while I barf. Now, with her new series, currently streaming on Netflix, she is sharing her personal passions, including cooking, of which she doesn't really do much, hostessing and decorating, with her biggest audience yet. Well, that remains to be seen. When your children get to a certain age, when you're not just playing in the sandbox with them, but almost playing in your own sandbox again, it's super joyful. Oh, Christ. For those of you that have suffered with me watching the first episode of her show, you know that she keeps mentioning joyful. This woman has a limited vocabulary. Super joyful. It's such an empty phrase. As a woman, now there we are, a mum and a wife, to be able to find yourself again in a way that was always present, but that you maybe couldn't put as much attention on as you now can when your kids are a little bit older, is a wonderful feeling. Word salad. Although the couple's 2022 Netflix docuseries, The Record-Breaking Harry and This One's Wife, famously pulled back the curtain on their struggles within the royal family, this time there's no mention of anything royal, apart from the title. Harry himself makes only a fleeting appearance in the final episode, but his presence was felt behind the scenes. Why, is he the ghost of Banquo? Whenever Harry visited set, he was always super polite and friendly, a crew member tells People. But it was clear he wanted this to be This One's Wife's moment to shine. In other words, he wasn't very interested, but he does love his wife and he wants her to be the star of the show. This One's Wife's 8-episode lifestyle shows sees her cooking, crafting and gardening with friends and chefs while sharing personal stories and recipes, a natural extension of her pre-royal life. In 2014, while filming Suits in Toronto, she launched The TIG, Bringing Up the Past, a blog on food, travel and wellness, years ahead of the influencer boom. But as her relationship with Harry deepened, she shut it down in 2017 and later deleted her Instagram before joining royal life. How hard was it to let go? Well, so far we're several paragraphs into this article and it hasn't really told us anything that we didn't know already. She continues, well, I love The TIG, but I certainly love my husband more, she says. That's a no-brainer. Why would you need to say that? So that was a choice I made at the time, and I wouldn't change that for a second. Harry is now loving watching This One's Wife step back into her creative groove. My husband met me when I had the TIG, and I see this spark in his eye when he sees me doing the thing that I was doing when he first met me. Oh yeah, what's that? Unbuttoning your blouse and winking at him. Even though the activities on her new show feel familiar to This One's Wife's long-time followers, the filming pushed her beyond the comfort zone she knew from her 7 seasons on Suits. What, standing around in kitchen letting other people do the heavy lifting? Oh, give it a rest. I was never really in front of the camera like this, she says, reflecting on the legal drama, which became one of Netflix's most streamed shows in 2023. Yeah, people, you keep wedging your tongue up her arse. It's a time capsule for me. I still have the pencil skirt from the first episode. Well, yeah, because you rob clothing, don't you? She remains close to co-stars like Abigail Spencer and is excited to see the upcoming Suits LA on Peacock. I love that it gets a new breath of fresh air. Her new show isn't a traditional stand and stir format, an industry term This One's Wife learned during filming to describe most cooking shows. It feels as though we're just spending time together, which is what it ended up being, she says of the crew's presence on the series. I'd make a recipe and say, everyone try this, and there are certain dishes where you just watch everyone flock in. I'd say we've run out of spoons. It ended up feeling so communal, and that's the spirit of the show. Ads director Michael Steed, who previously worked on the Emmy-winning series Anthony Bourdain Parts Unknown, Christ, what a climb down for him. Everyone has this one version of her, but she's just someone who is hustling, damn right, and working and doing. I genuinely wanted to create an environment where she could relax, and I know the pressures of what she deals with on a daily basis. I was happy that we created scenes where she could tap into that part of her life. Along with featuring her domestic skills, With Love Meghan also highlights her own product line, which will be available on asever.com. This One's Wife has hinted that her signature jam will be among the offerings, set to launch this spring. Also launching this spring, her new podcast with Lemonada Media. She's back on Instagram too, for the first time in years. When I was last on social media, boomerang was the thing, she says, laughing. Instagram stories didn't even exist, so it's been a minute. What the fuck does that mean? Despite the intense focus of her return to Instagram, where her 2 million followers, well, most of them are bots actually, as explained previously, analyse everything from her outfits to the plates she uses, how? They're not allowed to comment. This One's Wife doesn't identify as an influencer. I see myself as an entrepreneur and a female founder. Yes, well, you're bound to do. That's the grandiosity of your narcissism. And if the brand ends up influential, then that's great. Although the show paints a picture of domestic bliss, with This One's Wife slow cooking berries from her garden, she doesn't consider herself a trad wife, shorthand for traditional wife either. No, well, she wouldn't do, because that would mean that she is basically submissive to Harry. But she is being a trad wife. It's got trad wife written all over it. I like being able to do a hybrid, she says. Chinese food delivery is a favourite, but even when I get takeout, I will try to plate it beautifully. Oh, fuck off, you pretentious sod. Harry's there going, come on, get the sesame prawn toast over here. I'm absolutely Hank Marvin. Where's my crispy seaweed? Don't fuck around putting it out on the plates like that, woman. Just get it served. She is nonsensical. Who on earth arranges their takeout delivery beautifully? You just plonk it on the plate and get eating. She encourages others to strive for balance, not perfection, despite her show's beautiful imagery. The series is about doing what you can do, she says, and doing it with love. That outlook was first noticed by a friend who visited the set and came up with the name of the show. Their takeaway was they were so happy to see me as myself, this one says. Nobody knows what you are other than us, that you're a narcissist. She said it's like your love letter to all the things you've loved to do, and if you're signing off a love letter, it's with love, this one's wife. It felt right, and I love that my friend helped create it. That's probably made up. Receiving that kind of feedback from her friends who have quietly supported her through the challenges of recent years has been meaningful for this one's wife. You have to imagine my friends' experience through the past few years, she says. They spend all this time with me at home and at their houses or out at dinners. For them to see who they know to be reflected on screen, it brought them a lot of joy. There's that word again. She really ought to go and invest in a thesaurus. It really is painful. And of course, this is all of a woman who wants to stay out of the spotlight, apparently. The Montecito community, who have gotten to know her from school drop-offs and play dates with Archie and Lily, have become essential. We hosted a little camp because winter break was long, she says, with a laugh. We had several days with different families at our home, and we were able to get to know the parents better and all the kids could play. This one's wife and Harry set up obstacle courses and face painting. It's a dream, she says, but I also know that being part of a community means you put your effort into it. Yet then, why is it that your neighbours all state that they hardly ever see you? In the process, this one's wife says, Montecito has become protective of the Sussexes. Once you know us, I think you want us to have the same normalcy as parents and for our children as they do, despite however unique our situation is. For this one's wife, normal looks like nights out with Harry and pals. We go to a lot of dinners, and not just in people's homes or private rooms, we just go into the restaurant, she says. I really love that we can just have fun. Well, I doubt that you go to them as often as you claim, otherwise we would have been flooded with backgrid pictures of them. Her friendships with other mums have grown beyond school ties into deeper connections. Connections, one of her other favourite bullshit words. I have a couple of girlfriends up here. These are stay-at-home moms and working women with normal jobs, not in the public eye. We went from just connecting, there she is again, through our kids to having girls' nights out or doing Pilates together. One confidant recalls how they first connected when Archie and her daughter became fast friends at school. This one's wife reached out with a voicemail inviting her to a play date. Why do we need to know this? Ah, yes, because you're wanting to portray yourself as relatable and kind and just like everybody else. Yet you swan around using a title. This is all just facade management to say, hey, look, we do normal things too, as a mum, as a family, as a wife, in an attempt to try and repair her shattered image, which, of course, was shattered not by haters, not by racists, but by her. She explains, you can see that as a unit, the friend says of the Sussexes. They're all very connected. After her son's recent surgery, the friend recalls this one's wife sent a bouquet of balloons and a stuffed octopus from Archie and Lily, with a handwritten note that said, we thought you could use a hug with 8 arms. And when this one's wife was invited to her low-key birthday party at home, she showed up despite not knowing anyone else and chatted with the other women about mum stuff and life, says the pal. It was just fun and natural. She was very comfortable, just chilling. This one's wife embraces life in her community, whether solo or with friends. I go to yoga classes that sometimes have 40 to 50 people in them and just walk in like, hi, she says, laughing. Oh, aren't you wonderful? You're so down to earth. Why wouldn't you walk in and say hi? You're nobody special just because you've got a title. Doesn't make you any different. You're a Janie come lately. You married into the royal family. You're a talentless nobody who just happened to have got lucky and become extremely famous and wealthy. But you're not entertaining, you're not talented, you're not charismatic, yet you carry on as if saying, isn't it brilliant of me that I actually go and spend time with the poors, that I go and spend time with the plebs, see how down to earth I am. As always, the more that this one's wife attempts to tell you just what a good mother she is, what a wonderful family she has, what a wonderful wife she is, how relatable she is, the more you realise that she isn't. The family's sprawling estate is their sanctuary, which is why this one's wife chose to film her show in a nearby rental that echoes their own space. But yet again, many people say that they're hardly ever seen at the house. I wanted to protect that safe haven, she explains. We're a close-knit family and I love those moments, putting Lily down for a nap, having lunch together, having sacred time together at the end of the day. It's all an image, isn't it, with her? It's all performative. It's all how she thinks it should look, and this is what she conveys. Our kitchen is where Mama just cooks for the family, and with a crew of 80 plus people, that's a lot of people to have in your house. The show also gives this one's wife a chance to put her kid-friendly meals to the test. I'm up before my kids are, so I'm normally up at 6:30, and then I get them up and dressed for the day and we go downstairs, she says. I love making breakfast for my family. My husband and Archie both love fried eggs, she says. There's a lot of bacon around here. And then sometimes you don't have time for all of that, and you just put a frozen waffle in the toaster and call it a day. And there's no shame in that either. Oh, that's good of you to tell everybody there's no shame in behaving that way. Aren't we graced by your judgment? Not surprisingly, this one's wife identifies food as one of her love languages. Even before I was a mum, I loved being able to nurture in that way, she says. Some of my favourite childhood moments are the meals that my mum would make. She'd make a lot of soul food. I remember she'd taken a Thai cooking class, so every week we had Thai barbecue chicken and spring rolls. I remember those flavours so well. And I want my kids to have these same formative memories of things that I cook. We call them mama meals, and these are the ones that I hope they come back to when they're older, when they're married and they have their own kids, and they go, oh, let's have a mama meal. And it's the same roast chicken I've been making since they were little. While she may not have filmed inside their home, she found ways to incorporate home life into the show, filming in the chicken coop, garden and orchard. Archie did the clapboard, sweet moments, she says. They would also come with my husband and visit me on set. And I love that my children were able to watch me working and see the balance of that and understand what Mama does and is working to create and share. It was really special because up until then, they hadn't seen me at work. The crew member recalls how Archie and Lily would run up to this one's wife on set. She was super attentive and doting on them. Well, of course she would be. Other people are watching. We would give them headphones so they could listen to audio. Adds this one's wife, I hope that when they get old enough, they feel really proud that they were part of the beginning of this with me. The landing page of asever.com features a photo of this one's wife and Lilibet hand in hand in their backyard surrounded by trees. Having her daughter on the site was especially meaningful for this one's wife. Being able to have my own little girl, as I spent so much of my life championing the rights of girls and women, I'll get that in there, your supposed championing when you basically have always only done well because of men. And to be able to see this as a multi-generational story, Archie is of course included in that. My husband is of course included in that. Oh, good of them to get a mention in. But I love the heritage feeling of it and knowing that this is something that I can create in front of my daughter and teach her what it's like to be a working mum, she says. This is something that hopefully can be a part of her legacy too. Life in Montecito has settled into a comfortable rhythm for this one's wife and Harry. When she's not filming, afternoons are marked by what they lovingly call day dates, where they share a quiet lunch together. In true parent fashion, the evenings include nightcap recaps, unwinding with a drink as they chat about their day and making lunch boxes. I think all parents in this phase with kids the same age know it's rinse and repeat, she says. If there's time, they'll catch up on TV together. We love Shrinking. We've just finished Black Doves, and we're excited for the new season of The White Lotus, she says. Reflecting on the past 5 years since their move, this one's wife acknowledges how much is different. 5 years ago, Archie was only 8 or 9 months old, so my life has changed so much, she says, recounting her motherhood journey. Welcoming a newborn, being pregnant while raising a toddler, and now raising both Archie and Lily. Anyone who has children will tell you it's a huge evolution as a woman during that time. As she looks ahead to the next 5 or even 10 years, she's open to what's to come. Can you imagine? This is just the beginning. Life is full of surprises, she says. And, my gosh, in 10 years, Archie will be driving. Doesn't really tell you anything other than this is an attempt to make her seem relatable, that she's this loving wife, loving mum, that she has this idyllic family. It's facade management. This might as well be an advertorial for her to say, aren't I lovely, and watch my show. It, again, doesn't touch on the real issues in respect of this woman. It doesn't touch on the questions that people really want answered in relation to her behaviour. It's simply another platform through a supine publication for her to bang on with her word salad and fridge magnet platitudes, talking about the banalities of her life as if she's the only person that actually does it, and all of this is, of course, because she's so relatable. It is sickeningly dull. It is entirely transparent as to what it's trying to achieve, and, as you know, because she's a narcissist, all she's trying to do is assert control over the audience by portraying this particular image, by managing her facade and drawing fuel by way of the responses that she receives. It tells us nothing new. It just affirms her desperation for people to like her, something that she's never going to achieve. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.